Police told Kim Zolciak to stop calling isn't an emergency. Police have told RHOA alum Kim Zolciak to stop calling because at this point it is not an emergency. The mother of 6 is embroiled in a divorce with her husband of over a decade, Kroy Bierman. Yet things have been so dramatic that the cops are always being called. So why did the authorities tell Kim to calm down on the calls? Keep reading for more details. Police to Kim Zolciak. Stop calling. For a decade, Kim Zolciak and Kroy Bierman were an extremely happy couple. He had adopted her 2 older daughters, Brielle and Ariana, from her previous relationships. They then went on to have 4 children of their own and had the perfect little family. Unfortunately, Kim loved to gamble and shop, leading to financial distress. In 2022, their lavish Georgia mansion faced foreclosure, but they dodged it until early 2023. Then it all resurfaced and they faced an auction. Once again, they were able to get out of that, but a short time later, they filed for divorce. Allegations were thrown at one another, and though they tried to reconcile, that did not last. The police were soon called to their home, becoming a repeated event. She alleged he would not let her leave their driveway while he was at the end of his rope. They were locking themselves into bedrooms, and their poor minor children were the casualties. Just before Thanksgiving, the police were called yet again. Since their home is headed to auction, they were packing and taking down the curtains. Kim Zolciak claimed Kroy Bierman was the aggressor, but he alleged she struck him. Their children could not necessarily corroborate Kim's story, but the police want Kim to stop. A Reddit thread was started to share how they had to let Kim know they could not keep coming to Kim's home simply because of divorce spats. Followers felt awful for the children, but moreover, could not believe this was still happening. Will it end? The big question that followers want to know is whether will it ever end for Kim Zolciak and Kroy Bierman. This has been going on for nearly 2 years with no end in sight. I can't believe this is still ongoing. I think there is some weird-ass codependency and trauma bonding with them at this point. Any relationship she has ever been in or will ever be in will end this way. She is a terrible person. It took Kroy a very, very long time to figure it out. The level of selfishness exhibited by these two, who have like 6 children, is despicable. Quit calling the police over this petty crap. Grow up and act like adults. Hopefully, some resolution is reached so that they all can find peace and the children stop getting dragged into the drama. Kim Zolciak Bierman, the glamorous former star of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, had always lived life on her own terms. But even for someone accustomed to turning heads and raising eyebrows, her latest saga was taking things to a new level. Over the past month, local police in her affluent Atlanta suburb had found themselves entangled in a curious escalating pattern. Kim's repeated 911 calls for reasons that seemed far from urgent. It all started innocuously enough. One crisp autumn evening, Kim called to report what she described as a suspicious individual lurking near her mailbox. When officers arrived, they found the intruder to be a confused DoorDash driver, juggling 3 orders and struggling to decipher Kim's elaborate gate instructions. Despite the anticlimactic resolution, Kim's social media was flooded the next day with dramatic posts about keeping her family safe. But that was only the beginning. The following week, Kim's alarm blared late at night, prompting her to call 911 in a panic. "It's an emergency. Someone is trying to break in," she exclaimed. The police arrived within minutes, only to discover that the culprit was her own dog, Sin, who had accidentally set off the motion detector while chasing a squirrel in the backyard. Embarrassed but undeterred, Kim posted a heartfelt tribute to the police on Instagram, calling them angels and emphasizing the importance of being vigilant. The local precinct had grown accustomed to fielding calls from concerned residents, but Kim's frequency and flair for dramatics was becoming a standout case. By the 3rd week, her calls ranged from complaints about teenagers playing loud music at the neighborhood park, "It's a public nuisance," to reporting a suspicious drone that turned out to be a neighbor's high-tech toy. She has a gift for making the mundane sound like a scene from a thriller, Officer Martinez quipped one morning during a briefing. The precinct sergeant, however, wasn't amused. "We're wasting resources responding to these calls," he said, running a hand through his graying hair. "Someone needs to have a word with her." That word came sooner than expected. One fateful Tuesday afternoon, Kim's call was logged as a critical incident. She reported seeing a masked figure skulking around her pool house. Officers rushed to her sprawling estate, only to find her eldest daughter, Brielle, trying on a Halloween costume. To make matters worse, Brielle was mid-livestream, and the entire fiasco, complete with officers' exasperated expressions, was broadcast to thousands of followers. The next day, the police chief made an unusual decision. They sent Officer Thompson, a soft-spoken yet firm veteran of the force, to have a sit-down conversation with Kim. Kim greeted Thompson at the door in full glam, her long blonde hair cascading down her shoulders and her nails adorned with rhinestones. She offered him a mimosa, which he politely declined. Settling into one of her plush white sofas, Thompson got straight to the point. "Mrs. Zolciak Bierman," he began, "we understand your concern for your safety and that of your family. However, emergency services are for true emergencies. Constantly calling 911 for non-urgent matters diverts resources from people who may genuinely need help." Kim's eyes widened, her expression oscillating between indignation and confusion. "But Officer Thompson, everything I've reported felt like an emergency at the time. You can't put a price on peace of mind." Thompson's calm demeanor never wavered. "I understand, but we're asking you to use discretion. Perhaps consider other avenues for non-critical situations. Neighborhood security, for instance." Kim nodded slowly, though her wheels were clearly turning. Later that evening, she went live on Instagram to set the record straight. "You guys, the police basically told me to stop calling them," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Can you believe that? I mean, I'm just trying to protect my family. I've got 6 kids, a husband, and the biggest house on the block. Of course I'm going to be vigilant." Her followers, predictably, were divided. Some rallied to her defense, praising her for being proactive, while others accused her of wasting public resources. The drama even caught the attention of TMZ, which ran a headline the next morning: "Kim Zolciak told to chill out by local cops." Determined not to let the criticism bring her down, Kim decided to take matters into her own hands. She hired a private security firm and installed an elaborate new surveillance system, complete with motion-sensitive floodlights and cameras that could zoom in to read license plates. She dubbed the system Kim's Command Center and gave her followers a virtual tour on Instagram. "You have to take your safety seriously," she declared, striking a pose in front of the monitor wall. "I'm not just sitting around waiting for something bad to happen." For a few weeks, the neighborhood's 911 dispatch logs were noticeably quieter. But Kim's security system, much like the star herself, was prone to overreacting. The floodlights were triggered by everything from raccoons to falling leaves, and the neighborhood chat group was soon flooded with grainy images of intruders that turned out to be joggers or delivery drivers. One memorable evening, the system alerted Kim to unusual activity in the backyard. She sprang into action, dialing the security hotline and live-streaming the incident to her followers. By the time the private security team arrived, the threat had revealed itself: a deer nibbling on her meticulously landscaped shrubbery. "This just proves you can never be too careful," Kim told her audience as the deer bounded away, her voice resolute. Despite the chaos, Kim remained unapologetic. "I'm a mom first and foremost," she said in a confessional-style video. "If protecting my family means ruffling a few feathers, so be it." As the weeks turned into months, the police's patience was tested less frequently, and Kim's reputation as the neighborhood's unofficial safety czar solidified. While her methods might have been unconventional, there was no denying her commitment. Still, for the officers at the local precinct, Kim's number popping up on the caller ID remained a running joke. "What's it this time?" Officer Martinez would quip whenever a colleague mentioned they'd seen her latest Instagram post. And though she'd earned a reputation for crying wolf, or, more accurately, crying emergency at the slightest provocation. There was a begrudging respect for her determination. Kim Zolciak Bierman might have been many things, but complicit was not one of them.